I went to Reddit and I asked one of the biggest community groups, what do you think is the root cause of anxiety? Within 48 hours of posting, I received over 232,000 views and more than 500 comments. Now, if you want to take a look at that huge discussion, I'll be leaving a link in the description so you can read it for yourself. Otherwise, in this video, I'm going to take a summarization of everything so that you don't have to spend all that time. Now, you could be wondering, well, Mark, there's plenty of resources online. Why didn't you just go and read it that way? And that's a valid point. But ultimately, I wanted to talk to people directly who are battling this issue because they can provide insights and give me a first-person perspective versus just a textbook trying to explain what it is. Walking into this, I made the false assumption that it's going to be 2 or 3 main reasons for the root cause of anxiety. But after the interactions and discussions, I was wrong. Wrong! From what I gathered, there are numerous reasons for it. So when it comes to finding a solution, it's not just a one-size-fits-all. Before I get into the main points, let me define what anxiety is. A simplified definition is it's a feeling of fear or dread. All right, with that being said, let's start off with number 1, social media and news. Many stated that they go online and they see their friends or even people that they don't know living the good life, being ultra successful and happy, when in reality that's not the case, but they can't help but compare themselves to their lives and how they should be further along. Another aspect is the news. How often is the news posting up positive, happy stuff? Not that often. It doesn't attract views. But you know what does? Talking about the fear, the major stuff that's happening out there, and just that consistent amount getting pushed out, it has an impact on people. Number 2, societal expectations. Some mention that there's a lot of stress that they have to hit a certain achievement or they have to behave a certain way. And then that causes a lot of anxiety for them. And that makes sense even when you think about it when you were a kid. If people are always like, you got to get straight A's and your teachers have these expectations, you go, and then all of a sudden you get out of the school system and now you're at work and you're like, I still want to do good. I don't want to mess up. So I can see how that can definitely play a factor. Number 3, lifestyle choices. Poor diet, lack of exercise, substance abuse. These were all things that people were voluntarily doing and they knew that it was contributing to their anxiety. But on the plus side, when they were able to correct it, they felt a ton better. Number 4, biological factors. Plenty of people listed out hormonal factors or brain chemistry issues. Now, I'm not a licensed therapist, so I can't really comment on that, but that seemed to be very prevalent in the comment section. Number 5, anxiety is just a natural response and you need to know how to put it in check. A couple users pointed out that anxiety is not inherently a bad thing. It's actually very natural. Even our ancestors used it. Because if you think about, okay, you're going down a dark path, you don't know what's going to come out and eat you. Of course, that's in moderation. Once the threat is gone, ideally, you want to revert back to your normal baseline. Sadly, number 6, trauma and upbringing. Many people listed out that their parents were neglectful, abusive, and that really set them up in a bad way for their anxiety. Others mentioned traumatic experiences. I just assumed that these were rare cases, but after reading the comments, it made me realize that there's a ton more people that have gone through some stuff than I will ever realize. And looking back, that makes sense, because back when I was in school, if I'm at work or just doing basic daily things like going to the grocery store, people aren't going to unload that. That's a heavy burden, right? And it's like, okay, somebody will be like, oh, that's sad, and how are they going to be able to help in that limited time frame? They're probably not. So I imagine that people are either silently suffering or they have a close group of people that they can rely on. As a result, I'm never going to be truly aware as to how many people are impacted by trauma and a rough upbringing. Number 7, genetics. Many said, oh, my parents had it, even my grandparents have it. It just runs in the family.
It runs in the family.
Number 8, financial concerns and burnout. This was a common one. Many were afraid to make even slight mistakes at work because it was the concern of, okay, what if I get fired? Then what if I go homeless? Will I get divorced? Will I die out on the streets? And it was the worst case scenario. Now, naturally, they were aware of, well, okay, this tiny mistake probably won't cause it, but there's always that little chance and then the spiral of how am I going to handle this type of situation? This is horrendous. In addition, because of this fear, many people overwork themselves and even experience burnout. And then in that case, how do you handle it? Because if you're feeling burnt out, you can't really continue, which then means you're going to lose the job or you have to quit. And then that just becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
I can't do this anymore.
Number 9, social judgment. This came down to people pleasing, being able to establish boundaries, or even just saying no to basic requests. Because if you say no, what if that person all of a sudden takes it the wrong way? And now all of a sudden they don't want to be your friend or they don't want to be married to you anymore. And how are you going to go about this? And it just spirals out of control. Number 10, self-distrust. This came down to people knowing that difficult situations are probably going to happen in their lives, and they're not sure that they're going to have the ability to rise up to the occasion. Number 11, the fear of the unknown. In this one, people could not stop fixating on the worst case scenarios. And the thing is about the future, there's unlimited possibilities.
Unlimited.
And rather than saying, okay, there's a good probability it's going to be a good outcome, this probability that's going to be a little challenge, I'll get through it. No, they're focusing on these are the worst case scenarios. These are horrendous. I don't know how I'm going to get through this, and now I'm afraid of it. Number 12, fear of failure. And I think that one's pretty self-explanatory. You want to do something, you want to accomplish something, but you're afraid that you're going to fail and what are the consequences of it, when in reality it should just be a simple step. Number 13, mental overload. And I found this one to be really interesting because somebody suggested that we just don't take enough time to process what we have going on mentally and emotionally. We're always stimulated by our phones, by Netflix, by work, whatever it may be, but we don't take the time to be quote unquote bored. And that's why things such as meditation and going for walks, even though they're very simple, perhaps boring, are so effective. And lastly, having a bad mindset. Over time, many reflected back and realized, shoot, I got a bad habit when it comes to my thought process, my feelings. It's not serving me. And it doesn't matter where these habits came from. I know that I need to correct it.
I'll fix this.
So they sought out resources and they took the time to actually correct it like a muscle. And now they're much more positive and it's serving them in a way that helps them out. So that was everything that I was able to gather, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Do you think the Reddit community really nailed the hammer on the head, or maybe they missed a point or two? Let me know in the comments section. And if you like this video, check out my next one. I talk about 7 ways to improve self-discipline. So regardless if you're struggling with anxiety or not, we all want to feel better and do better, and this should help you out.